There are times in life when being quiet speaks louder than any words could. Knowing when to talk and when to stay silent is not just a skill, but also a form of self-control and often a sign of deep understanding. Some situations can actually get worse when you speak, even if your words are thoughtful or make sense. In these moments, silence becomes one of your strongest tools. It helps you handle complicated things wisely. Think about how you react when someone yells at you or blames you unfairly. Most people immediately want to defend themselves. It's natural to want to explain, to clear things up, or even to fight back with words. But when emotions are running high, saying something right then usually doesn't help. In fact, it can make everything worse. That's because when someone is angry, they're not thinking clearly, their emotions cloud their thinking, and they can't really hear or understand what you're saying. I remember a time when a coworker got really upset over something that wasn't even true. He came into my office, slammed the door, and started shouting accusations at me. Every part of me wanted to fight back, to correct him and defend myself, but I understood that nothing I said at that point would matter. He had already made up his mind. So I didn't say anything. I just listened quietly without interrupting or react. Eventually, he ran out of things to say. His anger had no reaction to feed on. When he was done, he walked out. I still hadn't spoken a single word. Later, he came back calm and thinking clearly. We had a real conversation, and he even apologized for the way he behaved. We settled the issue peacefully with no bad feelings left. If I had argued with him in that heated moment, it probably would have made things worse. But staying silent gave us both a chance to calm down. That choice saved our working relationship. This is something very important to remember. When someone attacks you with harsh words, you don't have to answer right away. Let silence give both of you time to cool down. It helps you think better and react more wisely. When you stay quiet, you keep control of your emotions and of the situation itself. That kind of control isn't weakness, it's strength. I once heard a saying, you don't need to join every argument you're invited to. That idea really stuck with me. Just because someone is angry or upset doesn't mean you have to jump into a fight with them. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to say nothing. Silence in these moments doesn't mean you agree with what they're saying. It just means you're choosing not to make things worse. Imagine standing next to a fire that's already burning. You have two choices. You can throw more wood onto it and make it burn hotter, or you can just wait and let the flames go out on their own. Staying silent is like letting that fire slowly fade. But if you speak without thinking, your words become more fuel that feeds the fire, making it harder to control. That doesn't mean you should avoid conversations completely. It just means you should wait for the right time. After the emotional storm has passed, that's when real, clear, and respectful discussions can happen. But you won't get to that calm place if you speak too soon. Let things settle before you try to fix them. Another time when silence is powerful is during moments of excitement. When everything seems to be going your way, you may feel like you can do anything. That excitement can push you to make big promises or agree to too many things at once. In that moment, everything seems possible. But the risk is that you may overestimate what you can actually do. Enthusiasm can make you say yes to more than you can handle. Later, when your energy fades and reality sets in, you realize those promises are hard to keep. This can hurt your reputation and even your confidence in yourself. I've seen people fall into this trap many times. They get excited by new ideas or chances and agree to do more than they realistically can. At first it feels good, but later they feel stressed, overwhelmed, and regretful. They may have to go back on their word, which can damage relationships and leave them feeling disappointed in themselves. Excitement is a great thing. It helps us dream big and take action. But like fire, it needs to be handled carefully. If it gets out of control, it can burn you. That's why it's so important to pause and think before making any big promises in moments of high emotion. Give yourself time to understand what's really possible. I remember meeting a young man after giving a talk. He was full of energy and said he was going to completely change his life. He planned to quit his job, start a business, run a marathon, and learn a new language all within 6 months. I admired his spirit, but I also worried he was trying to do too much too fast. A year later, I saw him again. He looked tired and disappointed. He hadn't been able to do any of the things he had planned. He felt like a failure. But his problem wasn't a lack of motivation. It was that he made big promises in a moment of excitement without thinking about whether they were realistic. If he had taken a little time to reflect and set smaller, achievable goals, he might have succeeded. So next time you feel really inspired or excited, stop for a moment. Don't commit right away. Think it through. That doesn't mean killing your excitement. It means using it in a way that helps you succeed in the long run. Being quiet is also important when you don't know the full story. A lot of people speak without fully understanding what's going on. They give advice or share opinions before they have all the details. This happens all the time. But when people speak too soon, it often leads to confusion or even conflict. I've learned that it's better to ask questions and listen before jumping in. I remember a meeting where one leader began giving suggestions on how to solve a problem, even though he didn't really understand the issue. He wanted to help, but because he didn't take the time to listen first, his advice wasn't useful. In fact, it made the meeting take longer because others had to explain everything again. If he had stayed quiet for a bit and listened, he could have offered better help later. Silence in these moments shows that you're wise. It shows that you care about understanding the full picture before speaking. And when you do speak, your words will matter more because they come from a place of knowledge, not guesses. Silence doesn't mean you're not involved. It means you're choosing to be thoughtful before you speak. By being silent, you give yourself space to think clearly. You can avoid mistakes and misunderstandings. You'll be able to solve problems better, build stronger relationships, and feel more at peace with yourself. Remember another example when I worked with a group of leaders on a big project. One of the new members wanted to stand out. In our first meeting, he quickly started sharing ideas and solutions, but he hadn't fully understood the problem. Though his energy was good, his comments didn't really help and caused confusion. The meeting dragged on longer than needed. If he had listened first and taken time to learn, he could have added something really useful. This isn't about staying silent forever. It's about waiting until you know enough to speak in a helpful way. There's an old saying that goes, it's better to stay silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. It might make you smile, but it carries real truth. When you don't know something, it's usually better to stay quiet. People respect you more when they know you only speak when you understand the topic. Also, silence is powerful when someone else is opening up about something emotional or personal. This is where many people make mistakes. When a friend or loved one shares their struggles, pain, or fears, the natural urge is to give advice or try to fix the problem. But most of the time, they don't need solutions. They just need someone to truly listen. I've learned this the hard way. I learned this the hard way at the beginning of my career. I was guiding a young man who was dealing with a difficult time. He opened up to me, completely sharing the problems he was going through, his worries and doubts. My first instinct was to start giving him advice, telling him what he should do, how he should think, and what actions he should take. I believed I was helping him. But what I didn't understand then was that he wasn't really asking for answers. He wasn't looking for advice. He just needed someone to genuinely listen to him, to accept his emotions, and simply be there with him at that moment. By rushing in with my own words, I lost a chance to truly connect with him on a deeper level. I missed the moment to offer the kind of comfort that only quiet presence can give. Silence during such times doesn't mean doing nothing. It means being completely present. It's about showing the other person that you are listening, that you care, and giving them a safe space to speak openly. Sometimes that's exactly what they need, just to be heard. That can bring peace, comfort, and even healing in ways that words often cannot. When someone is sharing something emotional or very personal, hold back from jumping in with your advice or opinions. Instead, give them your quiet attention. Let them speak. Let them open up. Let your silence communicate your care, your understanding, and your patience. This way of responding also teaches us something important about ourselves. Think about how many times you've shared something painful with someone and they immediately tried to give you advice or solve your problem. How did that make you feel? Most of the time, it feels like they aren't really hearing you, even if they mean well. Their quick response often skips over the deeper emotions you were trying to express. That's why silence matters so much. It gives the other person space to speak their heart without being interrupted, judged, or rushed. It shows that they matter, that their experiences and feelings are important enough for you to just listen and be there for them. Being silent is also important when you're about to make a big decision. People often hurry into choices, saying things out loud before thinking everything through properly. But taking a pause to think can protect you from making mistakes that you might regret later. I've seen this many times, especially in the business world. Someone gets excited about an idea and starts talking about it right away, making promises or commitments without fully understanding what they're getting into. Later on, they realize they didn't look at every angle or think about the possible problems or long-term outcomes. By then, they're already too deep into it and it becomes harder to back out or fix things. When you're facing an important choice, silence gives you room to reflect, collect information, and consider the pros and cons. It helps stop emotional decisions that you may regret later. When you finally decide to act or speak, you'll do it with more confidence because you took the time to think carefully. I remember one time early in my career when I was given a business opportunity. At first, it looked great and full of promise. I felt like saying yes right away, but something inside told me to wait and think it over. After researching and talking with people I trusted, I discovered that the opportunity wasn't as solid as it first seemed. There were hidden problems and risks I hadn't seen, so I turned it down. If I had spoken too soon or committed too quickly, I could have made a bad decision. Silence helped me avoid that. Silence also helps bring clarity. It lets your thoughts settle. It helps you think clearly and lets your intuition speak. That kind of quiet understanding often leads to the best choices. The next time you're faced with something big, don't rush. Take a moment, stay silent, think deeply. And when you finally make your move, it will be filled with wisdom and certainty. Another time silence plays a big role is when you're in the presence of someone great. Someone who has achieved what you dream of, someone whose knowledge and experience is far beyond yours. Many people make the mistake of trying to impress such people by talking about themselves or their own achievements. But true learning doesn't come from showing what you know. It comes from being quiet and taking in what others have to share. When you are around someone who has a lot of experience or wisdom, your focus should be on learning, not impressing those who have reached great heights. Aren't interested in your words. They're moved by your willingness to listen and grow. Silence lets you take in their wisdom and apply it to your own journey. I remember one of my first mentors, Mr. Shaw. He was a man with great success, and every time I was with him, I wanted to learn more. In those moments, I wasn't speaking much. I let him talk. I listened carefully and took in everything he said. Mr. Shaw had something I deeply respected: success, wisdom, and insight. I knew that if I tried to show off my knowledge or talk too much, I would lose the chance to receive what he had to give. I wasn't there to impress. I was there to learn. Here's what's important to realize. Real greatness doesn't need applause. People who have truly achieved success don't need you to praise them. They already know what they've done. What they do value is someone humble enough to stay quiet and learn. There is a right time to ask questions, but the best questions come only after you've listened carefully and understood what's being taught. The lessons I received from Mr. Shaw went beyond just his words. They came from how he acted, how he handled his work, and how he lived his life. If I had been busy talking, I would have missed those lessons. But because I stayed quiet, I learned things that were never even spoken. His actions, his attitude, and his mindset became my teachers, but only because I was willing to stay silent and think about this. When you speak, you only repeat what you already know. But when you listen, you open yourself up to learn something brand new. That's why silence around greatness is so important. It's a chance to learn things you couldn't discover by yourself. The only way to grab that chance is to stop talking and start listening. And this doesn't just apply to people. It can be true with ideas, big problems, or powerful experiences. Silence lets you fully feel and understand the moment. In those quiet times, you find deeper understanding and can see the bigger picture. Silence when you're near greatness also helps you stay humble. It reminds you that no matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. It puts you in the mindset of a student, which is one of the most powerful positions you can choose. When you face life as a learner, when you choose to be quiet and take in the lessons from those who have walked the path before you, the world begins to open up to you in amazing ways. As the saying goes, the more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know. That kind of awareness doesn't come from talking. It comes from listening, paying attention, and learning from the wisdom around you. True greatness often comes quietly. It shows itself to those who are patient and calm enough to sit in silence and let the lessons sink in. Now let's think about another situation where silence is incredibly valuable when you're being pushed or provoked. This is one of the hardest moments to stay silent. In your life, you will come across people who try to get a reaction out of you. They may try to upset you, make you angry, or pull you into an argument. It could be because they're jealous or insecure or just enjoy creating tension. No matter their reasons, these moments will happen. When you are being pushed like this, the desire to react can feel strong. Your heart might beat fast, your body might feel tense, and you may feel a deep need to defend yourself or say something sharp. But here's the truth. Responding with anger or frustration usually doesn't help. In fact, it often gives the other person exactly what they want. You end up playing their game, and sometimes you say or do something you'll regret. A wise person once told me, if someone tries to drag you into their storm, you don't have to go. That's what silence looks like when you're being tested. Staying quiet in those moments doesn't mean you're weak or backing down. It shows strength. It means having enough control over yourself to remain calm. Rise above the situation and not let someone else decide how you feel or act. I've watched this happen in all parts of life, work, friendships, and even random interactions. Sometimes someone says something mean or tries to start a fight, and they expect you to react. But the person who stays silent walks away with their self-respect still intact. Being silent in these times is a sign of wisdom. It shows you know your worth and don't need to prove it through arguments or angry words, are not easily affected by negativity, and that you have control over your emotions and how you respond. Interestingly, when you stay silent in the face of provocation, it often unsettles the other person. They expect a reaction, maybe even a conflict, but when you don't respond, it surprises them. They are left to think about their actions and their reasons behind them. Silence becomes like a mirror reflecting their negativity back at them. I recall a story about a businessman I once worked with. He had a rival who often tried to get under his skin by spreading lies and making negative public remarks. At first, my colleague replied, trying to defend himself and getting involved in back and forth arguments, but it only made things more difficult. One day, he chose to stop replying. The next time his rival tried to stir trouble, he remained quiet. He didn't respond or react to the insults and kept concentrating on his work. Eventually, the rival gave up because he wasn't getting any reaction to keep going. My colleague's silence not only kept his image intact, but also showed his strength and emotional maturity. That's the strength of silence when you are tested. It shows self-discipline, calmness, and confidence. Most importantly, being silent doesn't mean hiding your feelings or running from the problem. It means not reacting when your emotions are high. It gives you a chance to think, to reflect, and to choose how or even if you want to reply. Silence gives room for clear thinking, making sure you respond wisely and not out of emotion. That's one of the biggest benefits of staying quiet. It gives you time to think, to breathe, and to find your balance again. In a world that pushes us to react quickly and talk before understanding, silence becomes a rare gift. It helps you pause, take a breath, and gain your balance before doing anything. The next time someone tries to upset you, think about the strength in silence. Hold back from reacting, stay composed, and let your silence say what needs to be said. You'll be surprised by how much control and peace it brings you. Silence in all of these moments isn't just about avoiding arguments or staying out of trouble. It's about building calmness inside and knowing that not every situation needs your reaction. You don't need to express your view about everything, answer every critic, or join every argument. Silence helps you learn that sometimes saying nothing is the best thing you can do. When you understand the skill of being silent, knowing when to speak and when to hold back, you not only handle life better, but you also discover more peace, strength, and wisdom within yourself.